My pet peeves have become so numerous, I'm not really sure who is the pet anymore. Stick around, I'll tell you all about my latest. Here's one that has bothered me for a while. Every time I see anything named after a modern politician, usually a bridge or a street or a library, some other kind of building, I think to myself, what exactly did this person do to get their name up there? Here's pretty much what they did. Number one, they either got elected or appointed to a position not through any actual marketable skill, but by essentially winning a popularity contest and then hiring their equally unmarketable buddies to help them become even more popular. Now, there was a time when our leaders literally put their necks on the line to establish this country. Those days are long gone, replaced mainly by days where the most powerful people in the world are there mainly because they couldn't make it in the real world. For a great plan on how we could turn that particular dynamic around, check out this piece by my friend DWB. But remember, Mustangs will oversteer. Anyway, the job given to politicians today incentivizes them to forcibly extract more of our money so that they can spend it on, at best, things we don't need, and at worst, things that will make it easier for them to extract more of our money. Now, they may or may not have any actual involvement in the thing that now bears their name, but one thing is certain. They were being paid for whatever role they might have had by the taxpayers. It was their job to work on projects like this, or at least pretend they did. Since when is being paid to do a job heroic? You don't see many Frank Lloyd Wright or I.M. Pei buildings, or for that matter, Jacobs Engineering buildings. Why? Because they were hired by someone else to do a job. In these cases, to design or build something. These companies or individuals played a much bigger role in the success of the projects they worked on and deserve much more credit than the politicians or bureaucrats who are attempting to stamp their names on every public works project they can get their hands on. So why aren't the engineers or architects' names on these buildings? Simple. Because the people who paid them for their work saw them for what they are, hired help. And that is not an insult. The owners of these projects carefully selected these people from among many others and decided that they had the knowledge and the skills necessary to help the owners implement their vision. Their vision. And in keeping with that, at the conclusion of the project, they chose an appropriate name that rarely had anything to do with the builders. So we should be asking ourselves, who are the owners of the projects these politicians keep putting their names on? Well, that would be us. I should say some of us. One of the things that keeps this shell game running is the fact that many of the people who are making these politicians and bureaucrats so popular are people who are not actually paying their salaries at all. Fewer than half of all Americans now pay any federal income tax. Less than half of us are paying any federal income tax at all. So the salaries of these politicians and bureaucrats who are naming things after themselves are largely being paid for by people who did not hire them. It makes one wonder how in the hell it can make sense to have a system where people are voting for taxes they don't have to pay. Well, that's a subject for another time. In this case, the preposterously low number of actual taxpayers substantially shrinks the pool of actual owners of these projects so that my preferred solution to addressing this pet peeve becomes more manageable. Instead of naming buildings after politicians, let's name them after the people or companies who paid the most applicable tax in any given year. These people, after all, in a sane world, are the true owners of these facilities. We'd have quite a few buildings named after Berkshire Hathaway or their owners with their $3.6 billion tax contribution, or the Waltons, around $4.9 billion. Maybe we could recognize the little guys who paid for these buildings too. The Michael Moove Conference Room in the Sam Walton building. Yeah. I like the sound of that. But one thing we will not be doing in my perfect world is naming anything else after the hacks who were not hired by us, generally had little to do with the project, and are building things for which the highest and best use would often be to have them torn down. On second thought, I do try to be flexible whenever possible. Let's make some exceptions to the rule in cases like the following. The William Jefferson Clinton Center for Women's Studies. The Barack Hussein Obama Sewage Treatment Plant. Why not? The Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., true story, Robinette, detention facility for the criminally insane. How about the Jimmy Carter Center for Inflation Studies? Oh, wait, we may have to give that one to Robinette.